Okay, so when I am creating this, I am writing out basically an organized set of directions. And so when you do that, every time you draw an object, before you draw it, you can specify the characteristics of that object. So for instance, when I want to draw, say I'm going to draw two separate objects here, two different ellipses. Currently, if I look at them, they're side by side. They both share the same identical characteristics because I didn't specify any real characteristics. So let's do something. I want the first one to be the default colors, but I want the second one to be different. So if I wanted to change, say, its fill color, the inside of the object, I can do that by using the command fill. Then I have to give it a parameter, a value. Now in this particular case, I have to give it a number between 0 being black or 255 being white. Those are numeric values of an 8-bit color. There are 256 steps from 0 to 255 that define the color shades from white, or black and 0 to white. Currently it's white. But if I go somewhere in the middle, like 150, let's say 175. If I put a number 175 here, this little command is going to take that number and interpret that number as a value of gray. And so if I was to run that, because I didn't specify it before I drew the first one, and I specified it after this one was drawn, and then I specify the fill color, then I draw the object, it changes the color. Now let's say I wanted to make the outer line thicker, just like I did down here, stroke weight for the point. Let's see what happens if I copy that and I say I want the stroke weight of this ellipse to be 10. If I run that, you'll notice that the stroke weight on everything is 10. So that's not what I wanted. I wanted to say stroke weight, copy, paste. I'm going to change that not to 10. I want this one to be, say, 5. And let's say I wanted this one to be different. Let's say I want that one to be 30. So because I specify it before I draw it, this one is 5. But when I get down here, I change that value to 30. Up here, this one is going to be 10, and it's applied to this one. If I left it like that, it would be applied to all of them. But since I change it before I draw, it'll be different on each object. So this one's 10, this one's 5, and this one's 30. Now this is just a point, but because it's a point, it's just a pixel value. So stroke weight works for that. Okay? So if I wanted to make a specific object in a specific location, I have to know where that's going to be. So let's say I want to make a house. I want to make a square. Then I want to put a triangle on top of it. Well, that gets a little more complex, but let's try this. I want to put the square right in the middle of my canvas here. And so, if I do that, I can go to the processing homepage. Let me go to the processing homepage, and I can go back to my primitives, and I can go to rectangle. And I can choose different kinds of rectangles. If I want a square rectangle with sharp edges, I put in 3 parameters: the X and Y value, where it's located, and its size. If I want a rectangle with rounded corners, I put in the X and Y values, the size, and then the degree, or how many pixels round the corners are going to be. Okay? In this one, I get a little bit more complex. So this gives me the X and Y, the size, and then each corner individually, the amount of degrees of roundness for each corner. And so for this particular, I'm going to copy this one, Control C. And I'm going to go back to my processing sketch, and I'm going to go here, and I'm going to paste that. I'm going to change its stroke weight back to something else. I don't want it to be 30. I'm just going to do a simple 5 pixels wide. Okay, this is going to give me rounded corners, but where I want it to be located is going to be the dead center of my canvas. Well, one of the things we can do, because we're working with a computer and the computer is using variables. Variables are kind of basically names of values. A variable can be the width, height. The width variable is a number, but it's being stored, that number is being stored by using a common name, like height or sales tax or something else. So I can actually use the name width, W-I-D-T-H, and if whatever the width of the canvas is, that would be 500 in this particular case, because I defined it up here. So this is actually becomes the value of the width, and this becomes the value of the height. So I can use mathematics. I can actually say width divided by 2 and height. The variable height, notice that it's red, divided by 2. And what this will do is it will draw the rectangle at that position in X and Y, based on whatever value this is. So no matter what I put up here, it'll always be in the middle of my canvas. So if I do that, I can see that the upper right hand corner is in the middle, and the object is being drawn from that corner out. Okay, there are different modes that you can use to draw your objects. You can either draw from a upper corner, you can define from the center out, and those kind of things. So I could draw from the center out too. And those are things that you can find in the different modes within drawing these objects. So there's different drawing modes and how you organize that, and that is covered in the tutorial section of drawing shapes and coordinates. And so if you go down into the corners method, the code could be center, like so, center. And so this is with drawing an ellipse. So if we did rectangle mode, center, I believe that, let me see if I have that there. We can grab that. It'll draw it from the middle. So let's try that really quick. So if I said rectangle mode, and maybe they don't have one. Okay, there we go. Rect mode and then center, and I think that's all caps. And the nice thing is, if you write a piece of code and you're wrong, it could tell you, but that was correct. So rec mode center is drawing that from the middle then of this, and I want to make it bigger. I want to make it 155 by 155. So I want my house to be kind of big. All right, so here it is. So now if I want, I've got to draw a block, and then I can put a roof on this by what? If I want to make a triangle, then I've got to know the points of the triangle, the XY of this point, the XY of this point, the XY of this point. And so that can be tricky. But if I know the middle, and then if I know that I'm drawing from the center and that it's 155 across, then I can do my math, right? So I get 155 divided by 2, that's 77.5. So 77.5 here, 77, subtract 77.5 over here. So if I know that the middle is this, and I got to go out so many points to the edge, and so many points to the edge before I go out. So I got to kind of work that out. I use graph paper to do this kind of thing. Okay, so if I'm at 155 and I want to draw my angles out to here, then I'm going to have to add at least 77.5 to 155 just to get to the corner here. So I'm going to go out past that. So I have to figure out what that is. So maybe I'll just I'll figure that out. So this is where graph paper comes in. So what I would do is print out some graph paper and draw my values. So I'm going to do my math here, and I'm going to solve that really quick. Okay, so here's how I'm figuring this out, and I'll test it out and make sure I'm right. When I draw this box, this rectangle, I'm using the center of the canvas, and the rectangle is 155 pixels tall and wide. So that means from here to here is 155 pixels, which means the middle, which is where this has been drawn from, is half of that. Okay, so that means from the middle to here is 155 divided by 2, which is what we calculated over here. So 155 divided by 2 is 77.5. So the value up from the middle to this line, which would be my Y position, should be 174. It should be. So let's see. If I, just for fun, I'm going to move this point here to 174 and see if I get it close. So the X value is going to be, in this particular case, I'm going to say it's 79 in X and 174 in Y. I'm going to see if I'm close, because sometimes I've got to figure out what I'm doing. So my X value is off, so let me recalculate that. So if I'm here at 255, so that's what I need to do then. 255 minus half of the width. So minus, what do we say? The value was around 79. So I'm going to subtract a value, X value, from there. So that gives me 171. So if I say this is this is 171, then I'd expect this to move over to this corner or very close to it. It's 30 pixels wide. Yeah, so there we go. There it is at this corner. So now I know the location of this is about 100 and I'm going to make a comment for my triangle. My triangle coordinates need to be left bottom is going to be at least 171 and 174. So an X 171 and 174. 171, comma 174. Then if I know I'm at 171 here, then I've got to add 155 all the way across. So I have 171 plus 155, because that's the entire distance across to here. So let's see, 326. So let's see if I use the triangle, the bottom of my triangle right, that'll give me the same, the Y value is going to stay the same, but the X value is going to be 326. And I will just test it out and see. So my X value is going to be 326, but the Y value is going to be the same, 174. So I'm going to test that out and see. So a lot of times I'm going to have to test my theory, right? It's a theory. So I'm going to move I'm going to make another point, just to copy this one, and change its value from 171 to 326. And I'll see if I'm close, because sometimes I make mistakes. Sometimes what I think I'm doing and what I need to do is different. So here I have this one and this one. Now I need one, and I know that the midpoint in x is going to be halfway. So I know I'm 250 here,